Hello, Mrs. F1.
Hello, Mr. F1. Welcome back, everyone, as well. We are here. We're bringing you all the F1 news, even though F1, we're like 90 days away from from the first F1
About.
race. I'm going to count down. I'm going to give everyone an update on how many days we all have to survive until Formula One is back in our lives. Even though racing isn't happening, I feel like this week there's been a lot of Formula One news. I don't know about you, but
Yeah.
I've been
Oh, yeah.
trying to
Big
keep up.
news.
Yeah, big news. So let's jump in to the news, but after the news, you guys, make sure you stay because we're talking our top 3 moments of the entire 2022 season. I also want to remind everybody, make sure to like and subscribe. I always say this at the end of our podcast, and I'm like, I should say it at the beginning. Just put it out there, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, give us a review on the podcast. It's always super helpful. But now that the housekeeping is out of the way, let's get into this week's news. Mattia Binotto is adios. It's so funny.
He's officially gone.
Yeah, we were just speculating about this in the last podcast, and no joke, I hit publish on the podcast, and less than 24 hours later,
Yep.
they announced it.
18 hours later.
Yeah, I was like,
Yep.
oh my God, now our show is irrelevant. This is the life we lead as
We were right
podcasters.
though. He needed to be gone, and he is. So
He is. All the
now we wait to
rumors.
see who replaces him.
Yeah, all the rumors were true, which I said. The fact that Ferrari responded so quickly to dismay all these rumors told me that it was true. And it's true. So it was announced he's leaving Ferrari for good. He's been with the team for 20 plus years, which is crazy. Did you know he started as an intern at Ferrari?
Mm-hmm. Oh
Which
yeah,
I
there's
mean,
pictures with him and Michael together. Yeah.
yeah, which is like a tale as old as time when it comes to sports. Working in sports, you start as an intern or like you start as something and you find yourself at the
Yeah. Make your
leading
way
the
to CEO.
yeah. Typical sports, but he didn't really give a reason why he was leaving other than kind of it's like taken a toll on him a little bit, which I get. He's been team principal since 2019, and let's be real, Ferrari is not an easy team to lead. So it just kind of sounded like it was more for him, at least in his press release. It was time. It's like kind of like a mutual agreement. But I wanted to bring this up because there have been rumors that Charles Leclerc has not been on good terms with Mattia Binotto since Silverstone,
I
whatever.
I don't I don't blame him. I mean, I wouldn't be on good terms with him just due to the performance all year.
Yeah, I mean, I said this I believe last week. Um, do the does Charles maybe unhappiness with his performance this year play a role in Mattia maybe being pressured? Because it was also rumored that this wasn't necessarily like his decision, that the board very much wanted him out. Um, but again, these are all rumors and speculations, but it's been no surprise that Charles Leclerc has been incredibly unhappy. And I think I've seen him verbally express that more than I've ever seen him ever in his entire
Mm-hmm.
racing career express so publicly how unhappy he was.
I just it needed to happen, and I think it's a step in the right direction for Ferrari.
Yeah.
And we talked about it before. Hopefully, it'll turn things around and they can become competitive again because they haven't won since Kimi. So
Mm-hmm. And he did say in his statement he leaves Ferrari in a very good place. That they're like stronger than they've ever been, which let's give him credit. Ferrari is definitely better and at a better place than it was in 2019 when he took over the helm. So we have to give him credit for that, at least. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Like we talked about in last episode, if you haven't listened to it, go listen to it now because we get more in depth about who may take his seat. But rumors about Ross Brawn possibly taking his seat, but more likely maybe Fred Vasseur, who is a team principal at Alfa Romeo right now. But yeah, I mean, who else do you think could take this seat besides those two rumored names?
I honestly can't think of anyone. Maybe Cyril Abiteboul could come back. I would love that just for the entertainment. But
Well,
really, I think it's one of those two.
yeah, and there were rumors that Ferrari had actually approached other team principals, such as Christian Horner, last year
To jump
about
ship. Mm.
yes, about coming and taking Mattia's place. So that even makes me think even more, wow, like that was early. Were they already planning on getting rid of him a year ago? And
Yeah.
that I don't know. It's interesting. Again, these are all kind of rumors, but very reported by very knowledgeable reporters, sources that we trust. So it's just interesting. But we'll see what happens with Ferrari. They did say they won't be announcing a new team principal until after January 1st. So this could mean they already have somebody locked and loaded in the wings. But that person is definitely going to hit the ground running. Because obviously winter is a huge development time. And getting everything ready for the 2023 season. And I mean, winter testing technically is just around the corner once you hit January. So
Mhm.
it'll
Mhm.
be interesting to see who Ferrari picks to kind of lead this team into the future and hopefully their next championship. So we're
Yeah.
moving on to another team that has been in the news a lot this year, not just in Formula One, but in IndyCar as well. McLaren announced this week that Alex Palou will be named as one of their reserve drivers for the 2023 season. Now, if you guys remember, there was a lot of drama this year with Alex Palou in IndyCar because he kind of had a Oscar Piastri situation. Why is McLaren at the root of all of these, like, he signed with us, wait, no, he didn't, yes, he did situations?
It's got to be Zach Brown's fault. I think we've talked about how he dangles the seat over everybody. And
Mm-hmm.
that's my guess is that, he's just a magnet for controversy.
Yeah, he really is. And if you don't know the drama, it's basically McLaren announced that Alex Palou would be driving for their IndyCar team next year. And at the same time, Chip Ganassi also announced Alex Palou has re-signed with our team for 2023. And Alex Palou basically was like, wait, no, I didn't. Take that back. I never signed anything. And it actually went to court.
Mhm.
Went to
Mhm.
freaking court. Alex Palou will need to drive with Chip Ganassi racing team again this year in 2023 because of that court ruling. But he will be a reserve driver. So how do you think that'll work, Matt? Because he's still an active IndyCar driver. He's
Yeah.
one, I did see in the statement McLaren put out, they did say very clearly he is one of the reserve
Hmm.
drivers. So do you really think he'll
Yeah.
actually get a chance?
Probably not. I mean, how often do reserve drivers actually drive? Probably more so now because of COVID and, drivers getting sick and people being able to jump in. But in all likelihood, he'll probably be, at the events where there's not an IndyCar race at the same time. But
Mm-hmm.
the odds of him actually getting in the car and driving, I mean, maybe Zach gives him an FP1, you know, occasionally. But that driver lineup is so good that, I mean, you don't want to do anything to it. Piastri and Norris, like, obviously we don't want anyone to get hurt, and that's like the only case where a reserve driver steps in. But it's not like we're going to have a scenario where one of them isn't performing and is going to have to be replaced by a reserve driver. They're both incredible drivers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's to me, it's yeah, those people, they're more of a it's just we have to have somebody in the backup in case something happens, but in all likelihood they won't drive.
Yeah, I just more on the side of like, will he get a chance? I mean, IndyCar's season is in the midst of the ongoings of the Formula One season. They're usually not taking place at the same tracks or even on the same continent at the same time.
Oh, they're
But
never at the same track. Yeah.
right, and a good handful of times their schedule all overlaps an F1 weekend or F1 schedule. I did notice in the statement put out by McLaren, it did say Alex Palou will be available as a reserve driver for the team for all events that do not conflict with IndyCar.
Right. Yeah.
So they made that really clear. And he's only ever been, as far as the public knowledge, and I think this is correct, he's only ever been in a Formula One car once when he did a test drive at the US Grand Prix in Austin. So
Mhm.
kind of interesting to name someone as a reserve driver who has like very little experience with a Formula One car. I mean, granted, his IndyCar track record is quite impressive: 15 podiums, 4 wins, and 1 championship on his belt, under his belt.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's that strange. I mean, Robert Schwartzman was the reserve driver for Ferrari, and other than one or two tests than he's ever done in an F1 car, that's
mhm.
his only experience. So, you know, I don't think that's that crazy. And like I think to your point, Alex Palou has more experience than somebody like Schwartzman because IndyCar is a legit series. So um, I don't think it's that big of a deal that they. And again, I think this is more of a Zach's kind of claiming his driver for when his Chip Ganassi contract does end,
Mhm.
and we'll sign him to the McLaren IndyCar team, and then also have him as a reserve driver.
Yeah. Hot take. Zach marking his territory on Alex Palou.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we're
Like he's a tree and Zach's a dog, just
we're
to
just
pee on it. Yeah.
we're literally just like, okay, we're just gonna keep you as a reserve driver, one of the reserve drivers. So actually, you'll probably really never get to be your reserve driver. But hey, might as well just keep you here, and stick a McLaren shirt on you and call it a day. I think it's also interesting. We're really seeing McLaren use that IndyCar team as another way to scoop up talent, which we have
Hmm.
not seen a lot of other F1 teams do. There are other F1 teams that have done this, and do have IndyCar drivers kind of in their back pocket for testing or for reserve, but McLaren really seems to be utilizing this a lot. Not
Hmm.
just with Alex, but with Pato O'Ward, and some of their other talent. Do you think McLaren and Zach Brown's kind of grand scheme is to really start to use that IndyCar team as a feeder series to their F1 team?
Hmm. That would be super interesting. It would be great for IndyCar in the US. I think that most people who are into racing know that IndyCar is a like legitimate great series that
Mm-hmm.
requires a ton of skill. And I think before, especially European fans, just kind of scoffed at IndyCar and thought that it doesn't live up to F1, so they ignored it. But I think true racing people know that it is a very good series, and it would be awesome for Americans to be able to see, maybe young kids who are in F2 and are doing really well, but there's no available seats in F1. They jump to IndyCar as a feeder, like you said, to F1 whenever a seat opens up. I think that would be really great for the sport in the United States and great for racing in general in the United States.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to kind of bring fans from one type of racing to another. I mean, like you said, IndyCar and F1 share a good chunk of similarities. When it comes to just like types of tracks they drive on. Obviously, it's different, but they share more similarities than other forms of racing, like NASCAR, for example. Um, and like IndyCar is very heavily followed by a huge United States fan base. So think about it. Like if you have a favorite driver and they go into F1, you're going to follow them there. You're not going to
Mm-hmm.
stop watching them. So I think it's another interesting way to bring more people into Formula One, and also, like you said, to get some more talent in the seats. Obviously, getting super license points in IndyCar is a little wonky. Like you
That'll
don't,
change.
yeah, and
That
hope,
has to change. There's been so much attention on it. It has to change. Guys like Colton and Pato Ward and the other really talented young drivers who are getting screwed over with this super license points. I know Colton has said he doesn't want the rules to bend for him, but I
mhm.
think at some point the rules just need to flat out change because it is very well known that FIA does not give enough super license points to IndyCar drivers. And I really do think that's going to change in the very near future.
Yeah, I think if we start to see McLaren maybe using it more, we could see the FIA maybe paying some more
Hmm.
attention to, okay,
Yeah.
if this is a real feeder series or could be a
Yeah.
real beneficial to the sport, let's fix that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, speaking of IndyCar, we got some big news on the
Hmm.
side of women in motorsports this weekend. And I'm a little conflicted on this news, and we'll get into that. But Jamie Chadwick announced this week that she will be joining Andretti Motorsport team for the Indy Next Series, or formerly known as Indy Light. Now, this is
NXT. They just
NXT.
call it Indy NXT.
Yeah, Indy NXT. She's the first woman in 13 years to compete in this series, which is huge and great for her. I just think it's an amazing opportunity. I believe she is the only woman currently in that series at the moment. But I could be wrong about that.
I'm livid about it, if I'm honest. I think it's terrible. The fact that she didn't get a straight up IndyCar seat, to me, just doesn't make any sense. Tatiana got one last year. She struggled a little bit, and obviously she transferred to F2 halfway through the year. But to me, she's established in Europe in these racing series. Why she doesn't get an F1 or sorry, an F3 seat when there's 22 of them available? And that is, yes, I know, a lot of stuffy F1 fans will say F2 and F3, that's the real feeder series, yada, yada. And like we just said a couple of minutes ago, IndyCar can become a great feeder series, but this is so Indy NXT is Indy Lights. That's what they called it last year. They're just changing the name of it.
Yeah.
It's literally the feeder series of IndyCar. I just don't understand how a driver who has shown her talent and is clearly significantly better than everyone that she was racing hasn't earned at the very minimum an F3 seat or an IndyCar seat, right? Like I said, Tatiana had the seat last year, and she didn't do great in it, and it's a tough series to compete in. And granted, it takes a while to get kind of accustomed to those cars. And then the same thing when she jumped to F2, she didn't do great because she was thrown into the middle of an F2 season with no training, and like that's got to be insanely hard.
Right.
I just don't understand why somebody who has the experience in a F3 type car, which is what the W Series car is, wouldn't be given a shot in F3. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah. I I'm I feel very similar to like your reaction, but I am honestly happy for her because I feel like her career in W Series was at an end. She's been killing everybody in that series since it started.
Yeah.
She is at the end of like being able to collect super license points through that series. She cannot collect anymore. She's met the maximum. And with F1 Academy starting, I thought to myself, okay, maybe she will jump there just to have a new competition, new drivers to compete against, if she wanted to stay within that all-woman series. But she did say, I was reading a couple of articles about this, and she did say, this represents not only a big step up, but also a big step towards my goal of competing in the highest categories of a single-seater racing. So definitely the car she'll be in will be more powerful. This will be a new step and a new challenge for her. And also, I'm just happy that she's getting another opportunity somewhere else because I think she deserved it. But I agree with you. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, this woman has proven herself time and time and time and time again. And she not is only a talent, she's got money backing her. Rolex is a sponsor with her. Williams Drivers Academy is backing her. What is stopping this woman? And what pisses me off, I think, is like we saw in F2. An F2 team was willing to take a risk on a gamer, basically. Like an eSIM driver. An esports driver. Somebody that's never sat in the car ever before.
Oh, that's not true. He sat in not equivalent of F2 cars, but he started eSIM and then he did a few small racing series and then jumped right to F2.
Right. So
but to your point, it's that is taking a risk. Why aren't these teams willing to take that same risk on a woman who has demolished her competition the past year? It doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't. Yeah, I'm very confused by it. And part of me was thinking, I've seen a lot of interviews with Jamie Chadwick and even reading some of her recent interviews now. She very much talks about wanting to earn that spot. She doesn't want to be picked because she's the token female, which being
she shouldn't.
Right, being a woman myself, I 100% agree with. She wants to earn it. But part of me is
Yeah.
like, is she holding herself back? We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Have teams offered her spots and she's not taken them because she's felt she hasn't had the experience? Because this move to me to Indy Light, Indy NXT doesn't make sense to me. The car is more powerful than what she was driving in W Series, yes, but like I feel like she's beyond that at this point. I feel like she's just moving to like Indy NXT is just like the male female version like of W Series to me.
Mhm.
Granted, she'll be racing on very different track styles and stuff like that with Indy next, but I don't know. I'm happy for her. I'm happy for female racers as a whole. This is a great step, and she is a great talent. And, you know, taking a really high profile female name and putting it into like a different series is great. But like, I think she just deserves more. I think she's proven herself time and time and time and time again. I'm like, are teams really not giving her chances, or is she stopping herself from taking some of those chances because she feels
Mhm.
she's not ready? So I get it. Being a woman and being the first anything, the first female astronaut, the first, you know, female football player, the first female F1 driver is tough. You carry a lot of weight on your shoulders. You feel very responsible and you feel like if I fail, this is going to then reflect on all women that are coming up in the sport or in this arena. Yeah, I get it that this it shouldn't be like that, but I think as a woman there is a pressure on a lot of female athletes that feel that way. And I wonder if she's just kind of like taking her time in a way, being like, I don't want to jump to F3 or F2 because I maybe I don't feel I'm ready. Maybe I feel I need to do more to be ready. I don't know. This is me speculating, but I just find it very, very odd that no
Yeah.
F3, F2 team has reached out to her to take a spot. It
Yeah.
seems strange. And I think we both agree that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a bit frustrating for me, but I think the issue with that logic is no matter what she does, there's going to be people out there who say that she's only there because she's a woman. Doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter how successful she is, So Jamie, if you're listening, it doesn't matter what other people say. They can say that, you know, oh, you only got that seat because you're a woman, but all you have to do is just go out and prove them wrong, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I am glad she's joining the Andretti family. It's a great team with great,
Hmm.
in my opinion, great leaders of that team. The Andretti Motorsport Indy Light team has 5 championships under their belt. So she's joining a successful team, which I'm happy to see if she is going to that series. She's not going to some like crap team. And I
Well,
think they
and
will help her progress her career.
yeah, and there is a chance that they become like McLaren, where they are a F1 team and an IndyCar team, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
there is a lot of talk that that Andretti family wants to get into F1. So
Yeah.
maybe she is playing the long game. And, if she can develop herself with Andretti and in 5 or 6 years, Andretti finally gets an F1 team, then, she has a passage to F1.
Yeah, it's a great thought. I actually didn't think of that. That is true. If they were able to start an F1 series, that would give her direct path to a team. So
Mhm.
it's a bonus. So, anyways, bittersweet, but we are happy for her in the end. I'm
Yeah.
happy that she's going to have some different
She's moving up.
competition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though it's a tiny step up, it's a step up, and
Yeah.
she's gonna be playing with the boys now. She's
Yeah.
really gonna put her skills to the test, and I hope she kicks butt. I honestly hope, and I will be watching this year. I'll be paying attention to that
Hmm.
series. And we will definitely be following her, reporting back to you guys on how she's been doing because she is an exciting talent just in motorsport in general, and we wish her all the best for sure.
Hmm.
Just really quickly, it was announced this week that the Chinese Grand Prix has been taken off the 2023 calendar. Not really sad about it. I'm sad for Guan Yu Zhou.
Yeah. I think if anyone's watched the news in the past couple of months, it's not really a surprise. So, now it's just a matter of how is the FIA going to replace it. There's rumors that Portugal might come back. Maybe we go back to the Nürburgring in Germany, or maybe we do Mugello since we're doing Imola. It'll be interesting to see. And I think F1 or FIA has said that they're going to make their announcement fairly soon as to who is going to replace, what track will replace the Chinese Grand Prix. So I hope we go back to Portugal. It'd be cool to see Portimao again.
Yeah, it would be cool. I mean, I think the FIA was anticipating this happening. I think they were putting the
Yeah.
Chinese Grand Prix on the schedule and crossing all their fingers and toes. But obviously, with the very strict COVID
Yeah,
policies
they
in
wrote it in
China,
pencil because they knew
yeah,
that, yeah,
they wrote
it's
it in
probably
pencil.
going to have to be replaced. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is kind of a bummer for Guan Yu Zhou. The poor boy probably will never have a home race, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
but I mean, it is what it is. We already have a lot of stinking races next season. So it seems like losing this one just momentarily, but it'll be replaced. Do you think we could see even an option of a South Africa race? People have been calling for it.
Hmm.
This would be the perfect time to slot that in.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
I'm all for it. I would love that. It's just, are they ready? They being South Africa, wherever track it is, can they handle
right.
the hundreds of thousands of people? Do they have all of that set up and ready to go? And if so, then to me, it's not like should we do it? It's yes, we should do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be really cool, but I highly doubt that. That'd probably be a long stretch, but you never know. You never
Yeah.
know. So, some like pop culture F1 news. We talk about the serious news that you need to know, but we also bring you like the e-news version of F1 news. Can I call it EF1 or something like
This is
that?
all you because
Okay, I'm here for this. First of all, let's talk about the world's first F1 arcade opened this weekend. Super cool. It didn't open to the public just yet. Apparently, it was supposed to, and they had to delay due to some technical issues. But Matt, have you seen pictures of this F1 arcade? Because it looks amazing.
I have not, but I'm guessing it's in like Dubai or something, right?
No, no. So the F1 arcade is in London.
Hmm.
Okay. It's a partnership between F1 and Kindred Concepts. Kindred Concepts, I looked them up. They're a really, really cool company. They basically help design spaces that are like immersive,
Hmm.
and interactive, which is very cool. And this arcade very much is so. If you follow any like F1 influencers or TikTokers, even Martin Brundle, they were all at the big opening this week. It's really, really cool. It looks very high end, almost kind of gives you like a club speakeasy vibe inside, which is really cool because you don't think of that. When you think of like eSINs, you think of like super techy and gamey, and you
Yeah.
hear the word arcade, you don't think like high-end club and like speakeasy bar, but that's kind of the vibes it's giving.
Hmm. Cool.
There's 60 simulators, F1 simulators in the entire place, which is cool. You can create your own personal driver profile and get experience currency that you can spend on
Hmm.
all kinds of things, including different levels in the games, including food and drink at the place, which is really cool. And like I said, the public opening has been delayed till further notice due to technical difficulty. But this, I think, is really, really cool, and we can really start to see F1 is really making an effort to invest in that e-racing world
Hmm.
that is happening and getting more people interested in it. Do you think that this is kind of F1 starting to stake their claim in that arena?
I mean, I think they've already been pretty well established. Like, I mean, they post YouTube videos of the esports championship weekends, and they tag it, and it looks just like an actual race. Like highlights from this esports race. Um, I think it makes sense to embrace that. I mean, the only problem is that it's a very expensive. If you want to do it yourself, I want to build my own rig, and they're a decent one can be $5,000 to $10,000. So it's cool to have this kind of arcade where, and I'm sure it won't be cheap, but it should be cheaper than that. So maybe that's some people get bit by the bug when they do that and they save up their money and try and build their own rig. And, more people getting into racing, whether it's esports or not, I think is a good thing for F1.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Like, I've always wanted to drive a sim, like whether it's like a super cool high tech one or just like your basic pedals and steering wheel. Because I've actually driven like with steering wheels with car games, and I do way better when I actually have pedals and a wheel than I do with a controller. I'm impossible with a controller. I can't do it.
Hmm.
But when it feels like a real car, I can. And I've always wondered, like, I would love to play the F1 games, but I'm such garbage at using the controller. I don't even want to try, but I would love to have a steering
Yeah.
wheel and pedals, and that would be really cool to go there. So if you're in London or near London and this thing opens, which should hopefully be soon, go check it out because it looks like it's going to
Mhm.
be awesome and so much fun. And there are plans for expansion. Actually, I heard quite quickly after this. So I hope they bring one to the US. That would be so much fun, and we
Yeah.
would
My
100%
guess is
go.
New York City.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I love that they thought outside the box with this. Like, you could have very easily gone with like the cool arcade game theme and made it feel more like a competitive esports space. But they didn't.
Mhm.
They made it a little bit more fun and
Yeah.
in typical F1 style, high end and classy.
Of
But
course.
I think it's cool. Like, you can go even if you don't want to drive Sims. You can get a drink,
Mhm.
have food, watch people drive, hang out. Apparently, during actual GP weekends, they're going to have events at this place that are all centered around the
Mhm.
GP, which I think is really cool and just another cool way for fans to interact with the sport. Um,
This is giving me like Top Golf vibes. For any golfers
yeah.
out there, it's like pretty much F1's version of Top Golf, where it's, yeah, you can do golfing or you can kind of hang out and, you don't have to. And I think it's
Hmm.
brilliant. And, if anyone out there who's ever been to Top Golf or seen the lines outside, that they're obviously very successful. So F1 is smart for kind of jumping into that space.
Yeah, you're 100% right on that. It is giving top. I didn't even think about that till you said that. But yeah, it looks cool. I hope I get to experience one day. Maybe they'll open one
Mhm.
here, but who knows?
We'll have our own rig one day, babe. Don't worry.
Yeah, okay. In our tiny two-bedroom apartment that we just started running.
Yeah.
Where's the
Oh,
rig
yeah.
going?
Oh, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out.
Oh, guys, pray for me. Oh, Lord. Anyways, speaking of, no. Valtteri Bottas, I am so excited about this. Listen, I think ever since Bottas has left Mercedes, I feel like he's come into this era
Oh,
of
he's a new
like,
man.
yeah, he's a new man. He's chill. He's cool. He
Hmm.
rides bikes. He has a mullet now. This
Yes, he
week, he
does.
literally gave himself a mullet. He like swims in rivers in the wilderness with his butt out for everyone to see, and then prints it and frames it and gives it to his whole teammate. Like, this is the
Love it.
Valtteri Bottas everybody has been wanting to see,
Yes.
and now the man will live in infamy because there is a song named after him now. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this artist named Archangel, he's a Spanish artist, and he wrote a song and put it out this week. The song's name is literally Botas. I mean,
I
come
love it.
on. Come on.
I
I
like to imagine that Valtteri Bottas is actually he has an alter ego right now. And after he left Mercedes and he went from Valtteri Bottas to butt ass because he put his butt in that picture. And now he forever will be just Valtteri butt ass to me because
forever.
forever.
Forever. I was
Yes, that's
low
that's the Valtteri we all love to see.
I was low key thinking about getting that photo and printing it out and putting it in our new apartment, like
Oh, we
framing it.
should.
It's very
Yes.
artsy. It is
Oh, it's
very
beautiful.
artsy. And I mean, he has the perfect little cutest
He's
little
got a nice
round
butt.
butt.
Yeah.
It should greet our guests as you walk in our front door.
Yeah, imagine that.
Um,
Walking in,
yeah,
there's just a butt right there.
yeah, it'd be great. But the part of the song, so just heads up, if you go listen to it, it's completely in Spanish, pretty much all of it. So I did not translate the words or the lyrics, but the one lyric that Botas is mentioned in is in English. It is, this is the lyric: Juice drops a Formula Valtteri Bottas. That's literally what it is.
I don't
I'm
get it, but okay.
I don't
That's
either.
great.
Okay, but I'm gonna try and play some now so you can hear it. So here we go, because this deserves
I
to
don't
be
know.
heard by the world. Prepare your ears. This is pure Formula One gold.
Sus gotas, una fórmula Valtteri Bottas, Ortega Bennett las botas y otro par de amicadotas. Sus gotas, una fórmula Valtteri Bottas, Ortega Bennett las botas.
It is great. I don't understand anything else but the lyric that has Botas in it. And apologies if any of the other Spanish lyrics were offensive to you. I don't understand them, so I can't. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know if
Nice
they're
if
good
he
or
spoke
bad.
Spanish, but yeah, who
Yeah,
knows what he's saying?
no
He does say
comprende.
Valtteri Bottas, so
He does say it, and it's gotten over 1 million views in 24 hours on YouTube. So, I mean, the man sells himself. The man sells
there you
himself.
go.
So that is it for our news and F1 pop culture news this week. Now let's get into it. Matt and I have each picked our top 3 moments of the season. We established the rules for this before. It could be an on-track moment or it could be an off-track moment. Didn't matter, but our top 3. And then we have an honorable mention that we both agreed on for this year. So Matt, I'll let you go first. We'll start from the bottom. What is your
I was gonna say,
top,
I'll
your
do my number
third?
3, and then you do your number 3, and we'll go back and forth like that.
Go for it.
So my number 3 was Kevin Magnussen and Haas getting that pole position in Brazil. Maybe that's just me being a biased American, F1 fan, but that was just like the most feel good moment. I loved it. Just seeing Kevin in the car, the clock was ticking down, and when it finally hit him that he was on pole position, and him getting out of the car, that was one of the best moments this season.
Yeah, seeing any drivers like first, whether that's their first win, the first championship, their
Yeah.
first pole position, their first podium is always special to witness. And I think it's always just something that sticks in your mind. I know specifically for me too, when I saw that moment happen, I thought to myself, man, I just watched this man have a career high. And that's
And not
something.
just him too. I mean, I'm really happy for Kevin, especially having to leave the sport and come back in. But
Mhm.
I'm really happy for Haas because they started out as a team pretty well, and they've been pretty brutal since. And then the whole Nikita Mazepin thing, and them kind of basically becoming a Russian team, and I'm happy that they've been through a lot, and it was nice to see Gunter and the gang, just ecstatic that they got their first pole position.
Gunter and the gang.
Gunter, that's like a rap group.
Yeah,
Gunter and the gang. I like
it
that.
sounds like some kind of like boy band.
Gunter and the gang.
Someone make that into a t-shirt, please.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll say my third. I think they're kind of similar. They're both
Mhm.
about firsts. For me, my number 3 moment of the season is Mick Schumacher getting his first points, and the fact that he was battling Max Verstappen to do it, I think was just amazing. Again, just seeing him, I think he's worked so hard, and especially being with a team like Haas, it's even extra hard to try and get to where you want to be because you're in a car that can't perform. And just seeing him get those first points, and I really feel like after that moment this season, he just kind of flipped a switch. He really turned on that competitiveness that I don't think we've seen from him in a while. It kind of just turned that on, and I think his season got, we saw some amazing moments from him after that moment. And for me, also just the sentimentalness of like his dad, Michael Schumacher, being like the GOAT, the most amazing F1 driver ever, and just I can't imagine what that moment meant to him. I know that moment means a lot for every driver, but for him, I just think it probably meant just that much more, because I really feel like he's not just out there driving for him, he's driving for his dad.
Yeah,
And
it's probably bittersweet because he can't kind of be there with his dad to celebrate. I imagine that's really tough. And you and I
yeah,
watched that Schumacher documentary on Netflix, and it's tough to watch. And Mick makes it known that there's a lot of things that he doesn't get to do with his dad,
mhm.
like most other people would. And I'm sure it makes those moments tough for him. And especially now, not having a seat, that's got to be tough too, to not have a father to, kind of console you. Um,
Yeah.
it's tough. But yeah, it was nice to see him score his first points this year.
Oh, geez, you're gonna make me cry just thinking about it. I don't
Ah,
want to think about it. A happy moment. Moment
yeah, all
number
right.
3 for me. So no.
Well, number two might make you cry on my list. It was the goodbyes, at the end of the season with Seb and Danny Rick. Um, that was those two especially. They're so integral to the face of F1 right now.
Mhm.
That they're two tough people to lose. Yeah, Danny Rick is a guy that when everyone was kind of stuffy and not outgoing, he was one of the first to kind of be a goofball, and I think it kind of changed the paddock once people saw they could kind of be themselves. And then obviously Seb, for a while after he won 4 straight, people were debating whether or not he's the best ever, you know.
Mhm.
And then with the Schumacher connection as well, both German drivers, and Michael was kind of a mentor to Seb.
Mhm.
I think that's going to be tough. And I know we talked about this previous episodes. So we don't have to harp on it, but we are wondering what Seb's future is in F1, if there is any. Whether or not he wants to be involved with the sport. I think the sport would be much better if he would be involved. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's definitely one of my top moments, saying bye to arguably one of the best drivers ever.
Yeah, I agree. Like having to see those two, not just like amazing humans, but amazing talents in the sport leave,
Hmm.
definitely like bittersweet. I think it was
Hmm.
more bittersweet for me for Seb because I was like, he's had an amazing career. Could he do more? Yes, but he has a family. It's time
Hmm.
now. He's not a young spring chicken anymore. He knows it's his time. And I was listening to the interview he did with Beyond the Grid. And he said, like, when you stop getting excited to come to races, when you stop getting excited to be in the car, it's time. And I knew it was
Hmm.
time. And I think that's just really smart of him to know, like, you know what, it's time. It's time for me to go. And I think a lot of drivers just hold on too long. Um, and are afraid to let it go. But I commend him for, recognizing it's his time and deciding to go, but also just sad for the sport and just all the good he's just recently done the past couple of years as well, with a lot of his philanthropy and just bringing
Hmm.
attention to a lot of different causes. I think we just saw Seb kind of come into this new softer era of just
Hmm.
him as a personality, and that was really cool to see. And of course, Danny, just losing someone like that who brings not just like a smile to everyone's faces, but such positivity
Hmm.
into the sport. The guy has been through so much this year and he still stayed with a smile on his face
Hmm.
and super positive the whole time. So it was really, you know, really sad to see just him go. Because I also think he has more to give. He just
Hmm.
hasn't been with the team a good pairing to give him that. So
Hmm.
obviously he won't be 100% gone. He'll be around with Red
Hmm.
Bull, but yeah, good second moment, but sad. It makes me
Hmm.
sad. My second moment was in Austria. This is, think back, people, reel your brain back. Because as Matt and I were going through like the moments this year, there were moments where we came upon, like, oh my God, that's right, that happened this year. Like we completely forgot. But Austria, there was a 5-car battle between Kevin Magnussen, Lando Norris, Fernando Alonso, Mick Schumacher, and Guan Yu Zhou. That was one of the most exciting, like on track moments for me
Hmm.
this year. And you're like, really? Like a battle between Mick, Zhou, Mag, and Norris and Alonso? That was like the exciting for you? And it for me, it was just a real seeing actually the new car in action. I
Hmm.
can't tell you the last time, besides like at the start of a race, do we
Yeah.
ever see a 5 cars in a battle for one place. I can't recall in like the middle of a race. It's just,
Hmm.
it was so cool to watch and so fun to watch, and it was honestly one of probably my favorite on track moments this season.
Yeah, like you said, that is exactly what F1 wanted when they redesigned this car, was that they wanted those close battles. Like you said, it's one thing when there's 5 cars fighting for a spot at turn 1 when the race starts, right? I mean, yes, that's great and exciting. We love it, but that's only one turn, right? But with these new cars, the goal was so that, you know, you can be right behind a car and not have the disrupted air and be able to fight. And, you know, I think that's going to make for more, you know, excitement in the races. Because, you know, I think a few years ago it was kind of, especially in the Mercedes dominance era, it was like, okay, you know, they go the first lap and Mercedes is already up 3 seconds, and that's really tough to sell to fans.
Hmm.
And as we've talked about before, you know, F1's gaining a ton of new fans. I think this is all kind of timing really well to where there should be more examples like that, 5 car battles. Um, and you know, that'll hopefully kind of amplify the excitement about the sport as it's gaining fans. And, you know, as the racing is more intense, we should see, you know, a lot more people find it interesting and gain more fans due to that.
Yeah, it was so exciting to watch and so much fun. It was so much fun. So
Yeah.
hopefully maybe next year we'll see 1 or 2 more of those. But yeah, just a blast to watch, and I could
Mhm.
watch that all day, honestly. All right,
So
give us
my number
your
one,
numero
yeah,
uno.
my top moment of the season was actually, you know, kind of in you know what Americans call like garbage time in sports, where, you know, nothing matters. Um, it was Brazil, the second to last race, when Max didn't give the position back to Checo when Checo was battling for second place um, in the standings. And this just blew my mind, and I think it's going to make everybody's opinion of Max change.
Mm,
I think as a competitor, it's crazy to me to think that like he could have just sat at home in the Netherlands during that race. He already locked up the championship. Like there was no reason for him to be there,
hmm.
you know. But not only did he not care, like, yeah, I'm gonna race, he passed his teammate on team orders and then didn't give the position back in, again, what we call garbage time, when it doesn't matter. That to me is just like this guy cares so much that he just wants to add, he wants to humiliate. He doesn't want to beat people. Like,
Yeah,
he wants to humiliate them. And
annihilate
like
them.
that's scary from the standpoint of, like, you know, if you're a competitor, it's like, holy crap, this guy has no quit. But I think from a team standpoint, it could be really dangerous for him to where he could ostracize the team and make people not want to drive that second seat. I mean, I think there's already, yeah, it's a great car, but we joke that that second Red Bull seat's cursed. And like
Yeah,
on top of it, now you have a teammate that's going to steal positions from you when it doesn't matter. Like this guy he just doesn't care,
he has
right?
no
Like
chill.
that's a scary person to be a teammate with. And
Yeah,
and I think that this has ramifications for the rest of his F1 career. That's why I have it as my number one moment, because I think people aren't going to forget this.
yeah.
And it makes you wonder who's going to be willing to be his teammate, and, you know, what Red Bull's going to be willing to do if he just defies team orders and does whatever he wants and thinks it's his team.
Yeah, this is a great number 1 moment. That definitely was a big shock moment, I think, this season, if not the like number 1 shocking moment of the season. But the way Max Verstappen handled that really echoed and reminded me of some of the greatest athletes of all time.
Mhm.
For example, Michael Jordan. He would literally make up things like lies and scenarios about other teams he was playing in order to get himself so like worked up to beat them. Like the best
Mhm.
athletes in the world do crazy stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
because winning is the only thing that matters, period. Like there is no giving up, there is no like chill or helping. It's me, what can I do to succeed and get the best outcome for me at all times. And that is
Mhm.
very much Max Verstappen. That's how he was raised. That's how he was trained. And it just reminded me so much of like some of the mentality we see in some of the
Mhm.
best athletes we've seen in the entire world.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
doesn't make it right, but
Yeah.
it's very common when we're talking about people at the top of their game.
Upper echelon. Yeah, exactly. Upper
Yeah,
echelon athletes.
yeah. So My top moment of the season is kind of like a turning point, I think, for our boy Charles Leclerc. I think we can all agree at the beginning of the season he had a great trajectory to possibly win the championship this year. He had a fast car, he had the skills. And I think for me, my number one moment would be the French Grand Prix when Charles Leclerc lost control of his car into turn 11 and just binned it. And it was the cry heard from around the world.
No.
Yeah, one of our episodes is literally called "The Cry Heard Around the World" or something like that. It's crazy. And I think for me, the reason that's the number one is because that was the moment that marked Ferrari's downfall for the rest of the season.
It was
From
over.
that, yeah, from that
was
moment
over.
on, it was over.
Red Bull
And that,
won, Max won.
Right.
That was, I mean, to me, I thought it was over before, but like you said, I think that was the final nail in the coffin where everybody was like, it's over. That was, you
yeah.
know, Charles had the lead, he's out. It, you know, the
Mhm.
championship's over.
Yeah, I think things could have turned out a lot differently if he would have won that race, which he was completely poised to do. And I think it just really did mark the downhill spiral that Ferrari saw. Because at that French Grand Prix, the points for Red Bull was really creeping up behind Ferrari at that point, both in the championship and constructor standings. And that was a very crucial race for them. They needed to win it. And they didn't. And granted, that was not Ferrari's fault at all. Charles lost control of the car.
Yeah, but they left him out on those tires a bit too long. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're right. It was driver error. But
yes.
Yeah.
Where we saw like later in the season, a lot of the things that happened to Ferrari weren't driver error. But yeah, for me, that's my number one moment of the season. Also, just like hearing the anger
Yeah.
and sadness, it rivals that of like the Star Wars moment when Luke finds out that Vader.
Right.
Oh, if you don't know this, close your ears.
Spoiler alert.
When Luke finds out that Vader's his father, no.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It literally matched that.
Oh, as soon as I heard it, I knew that people were going to make memes out of it. The second I heard that scream, I was like, "Oh, this is about to be a meme."
Oh, I made one. I'm gonna insert it right here.
Okay.
Anyways, those are our top 3 moments. Obviously, Matt and I chose each moment for a different reason, whether it be personal or not. But we do have one moment that we both agreed needed to be honorable mention. I'll let you.
I actually have 2, but you can go ahead with the first one.
Our first one was Guan Yu Zhou's horrific crash at Silverstone involving George Russell and Pierre Gasly. Oh my God. I rewatched that before we got on to record. I forgot how absolutely terrifying that was. And that just, again, like, I feel like those moments are so scary. Like the way he was trapped in that car, in those barriers. Thank God everything was okay and that car did not light on fire, because it would have been horrible. Yeah, but like also kudos to him for experiencing that and continuing the season the way he did. I would be
those horrific
wreck.
crashes are always, you know, we don't want to call them top moments, but like most memorable moments for sure, because seeing that car tumble down the
tarmac down the track.
Well, the track, and then the sand, you know, and then flipping over the tire barrier towards the fans. Like, first off, I can't imagine if you're a fan back there, that's got to be terrifying seeing you know, 1,500-pound car come flying at you.
I think it's also
by that netting.
Right. And I think it's also a reminder as fans that yes, this is entertainment for us. We enjoy it. We love it. But these guys are also putting their lives on the line every time they get in those cars. Granted, they love doing this. Obviously, they wouldn't be doing it if they did it, but also for our entertainment. And we have to remember sometimes this is really dangerous, the sport. And these guys put their lives on the line every single time they get in one of these cars.
The cars are safer now than they were before. But, you know, when you see the Guan Yu Zhou crash or Romain Grosjean a few years ago, you realize that any of these guys could die, you know, every single time they get in the car. There's a not zero chance that they are risking their lives.
Yeah. And it was like 30
crazy.
seconds into the Grand Prix that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's crazy. Yes, it's not an exciting moment, but it is a memorable one for sure. And another example of how the Halo is a godsend, literally. That's why it's called the Halo.
Yeah, exactly. I know my other honorable mention, again, being a biased American sports fan, was the news that Sargent, got the super license points necessary to be an F1 driver. I was really excited by that, and I'm very excited to see an American drive in F1 next year. So
yeah, definitely. I think we have more than enough expressed our excitement and love for Logan Sargent. We haven't even seen the boy do a full race, and we're already like on the bandwagon.
Well, I watched him F2, but I'm on the Sargent bandwagon.
Yeah, I mean, like in an F1 car, we have never seen him do a full race. But yeah, I mean, that is really exciting. As American fans, it's just another testament to the fact that like in the sport of F1, we can indeed produce high quality talent to feed into Formula One. And yeah, just a win for America. Yay us. Go America. I just hear that I'm not gonna repeat it on here, but like the America song from
Team America.
Team America.
Yeah.
Can that be, how baseball players have walk-up songs? Can the Team America song be Logan Sargent's like on track song?
Oh my gosh. F1's too proper for that. They wouldn't allow it.
They need to play that in his headset as he's doing his warm-up lap.
Yeah.
So he reminds him the weight of the entire American country rests on his shoulders.
That's a lot of pressure, though.
I mean, it does. The future of American race car drivers rests in his hands. I'm just saying. If he doesn't perform, it reflects badly on all of America.
Well, hey, there's another American in F2 next year, Brad Benavides. So, if Logan doesn't produce, we got another one ready.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But thank you, everyone, again for joining us. I hope you loved and liked to hear our top 3 moments of this season. If you would like to share your top 3 moments with us, make sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram at Mr. and Mrs. F1 Pod. Drop us a DM, drop us a comment, and let us know your top 3 moments of the entire season. We for sure enjoyed, I know Matt enjoyed too, like going back and refreshing our memory at some of the earlier races this year. The season's so long, you kind of forget things happen. So it was nice to kind of look back and really pick through like what were our top 3 moments. And this season was great. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I wish there would have been a little bit more competition at the end for the championship, but in the end, it was a good season. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to us, and we are on YouTube now, so you can also listen and watch us at the same exact time. And also, if you're feeling extra just like a great person today, make sure to leave us a 5-star review and let us know what you love about the show, because we want to keep bringing you content that you're enjoying, you're loving. And as always, if there's something you want to hear from us, just contact us on our social media. And Matt, it's been a pleasure. We'll be living together once again next week.
Yep.
So it'll be a good time. But next week, you guys, we're going to release an episode with an amazing interview we had with one of the founders of Race Weekend magazine. I'm so excited for you guys to hear that. So make sure to tune in next week. It's going to be a great episode. And we're so excited to bring you more of these types of episodes as the season goes on with some of your favorite people from F1, some of your favorite people from the F1 influencer sphere. So as always, you guys, thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.